I feel this is the time we should pull ourselves together and look at other greener pastures.
2 weeks ago, Trump kept saying we are 2 days away, a couple of days away from a historic, a big, beautiful agreement with India. What suddenly changed course, we don't know.
There has been a long-standing agenda on part of United States that India should clearly affiliate herself with United States.
We should try and diversify our exports. We should try and get over it, and government should give some helping hand to the MSMEs.
What is different this time is it seems like President Trump has made it his agenda to pull India away from anybody else and to bring India into the US camp, lock, stock and barrel.
A country of plenty not having many options of products, it's going to change the mindset of the typical American by this year end.
4 out of 10 generic medicines in US come from India. So, they can't afford this.
See, I mean, basically he's dragged it on for too long. It's already 9 months he's dragged this on. I think he will arrive at a status.
That's the biggest weapon he has, because USA is the biggest market for all exporters. So the weapon he has is the tariffs. So he is using it to his advantage. Whatever they need, they are not penalizing. Whatever they do not need too much, they are penalizing.
In this episode of the Big FPJ Dialogue, we are going to talk about tariffs under the Trump administration. In the rapidly shifting global trade environment, this is one headline that refuses to go away. You had the Defense Minister of India making a statement saying there is somebody out there trying to be big boss and we can't let that happen. Trade policy being weaponized for foreign policy, the intersection of these policies that we are seeing now like never before. I would like to welcome an eclectic panel joining us here on. We are going to talk about all of these topics threadbare to understand the scale of the challenge, to explore the opportunities hidden within it, and also to unpack the complexities of it all. I am Afrida Rahman Ali, and with me is Sunita Ramnathkar, President of the IMC Chamber of Commerce and Industry. I have Professor Ajit Joshi, Associate Professor of Finance at Welingkar Institute. I have Mr. Janak Madhavdas, Executive President Marketing at Eurotex Industries and Exports Ltd. I welcome you all. Thanks for joining us here.
Thank you.
I will begin with you, Sunita ji. The first question that I want to understand from you, the fact that we are talking so much about the tariffs now on the Trump administration, how important do you think is for India to react at this stage to these announcements, or do you think we are still at a stage of transition and things have not really settled down yet? What stage are we in this whole negotiating process?
I think we have not yet settled down. The industry is still hoping for some kind of negotiations, especially the MSME industry, which depends heavily on the exports to the USA, and they are hoping that some mediation will happen and the government will look at them and do something on their behalf with the US people when they visit in India in late August.
Yeah.
So the industry is still hopeful, and we have not yet closed it from our end.
Yeah, but you know what I also want to understand from you as somebody who heads the major business chamber, how are Indian companies in manufacturing and services preparing for the possible impact?
Yeah, so we have met and we have discussed, and we have said that we must now focus on the countries with which we have an FTA, the UK and 13 many other countries with which we are having trade relationships, SEPA in Dubai, and now with Muscat and Oman and everywhere. So we have other alternatives. We should explore other countries. We should explore, even Egypt approached us and other countries have approached us. We should explore possibilities. We should start exporting to these countries. Maybe it will pick up momentum. It will take a couple of years. We have paid. But there will be a good future in sight, and once America settles down and we are settled with it, then America is always there, plus we will have these countries. It's only through adversities that we will progress. I feel this is the time we should pull ourselves together and look at other greener pastures.
That's a
You
very
know?
optimistic
Yeah.
approach, I must say. So, Mr. Janak Madhavdas, as somebody who is in this business
Right.
of exporting, do you
Yeah.
agree that here is the time, it's a churning? You know,
Yes.
here is the time that you could actually make an opportunity out of these adversities?
I fully agree, and as Madam said, that we have to go ahead and finish, just finalize the European Union Free Trade Agreement. I think they're supposed to be meeting next month. Just as we, concluded the Indian UK Free Trade Agreement. On the same lines, if we can manage that with Europe, I think it will be a feather in our cap. Plus, we'll be able to, mitigate a fair bit of risk that right now we are facing with, USA sitting down and imposing crazy tariffs on us. So,
So,
I
you
think
think
that is
there are
the way.
options for us to explore?
Yes, there are many.
Yeah. Professor Ajit Joshi, in the overall picture, now I want to zoom out because, of course, there are a lot of experts who feel, okay, much ado about nothing, there's too much of brouhaha. This is not entirely what is going to impact Indian economy, far from it. Can you elaborate on that, please?
Yeah, so I wouldn't say entirely much ado about nothing, but yeah, if you look at the headlines and if you look at the kind of brouhaha as you called it, total economy as a whole is not affected a lot because of the tariff for two reasons. One is that if you look at it carefully, there is no change in policy as far as capital inflow outflow is concerned. So FDI, FPI is not going to be affected. Even in terms of goods and services, there is no change in tariff in case of services. Almost 1/3 of our exports are services. So again, there is no change.
Bulk of
in,
it is
right. So it is wherever it is, it remains. Even within goods, for his own internal reasons, President Trump has chosen not to levy high level of taxes on pharmaceutical as well as on telephone or mobile manufacturing. So that constitutes, I think, 18 to 20% of our exports. So
Whatever
if you look
could
at
hurt them, that has been set
exactly,
aside.
because 4 out of 10
Conveniently.
generic medicines in US
Yeah,
come from India.
yeah.
So they can't afford this. So what he is doing is that he is trying to take care of his what you can call as Midwest belt.
Insulate some bit of it.
Yes, so and largely his agricultural lobby. However, on the other side of the story, the problem is a lot of sectors that are being targeted by the duties, additional duties, are those where a lot of MSMEs are functional. Large
Yeah.
corporates are relatively less affected. You saw that the markets were not affected much, or you saw that India caucus in US did not say a lot of things. But yes, the MSMEs are going to be affected. The farmers are going to be affected because agricultural products are there. And we have seen over the last few years that both these segments have kind of suffered in terms of their economic strength. May it be the currency exchange, may it be GST, may it be pandemic. In all these phases, these are the two categories
And
which
they
have
don't
suffered.
need another hit at this time.
Yes, and that
Just
is
about
something
recovering
which is
probably.
a worrying part in economy. So in terms of human involvement, there is a lot of suffering which is likely, again, as Madam said, that if these things settle down and if some things are negotiated, then probably this will turn out to be another storm in a teacup. But if not, then these two segments will take a hit.
I want to ask you, Sunita ji, because see, you are in a position where you also believe, and you have said this to me before the interview as well, that there can be a lot of negotiations. You have not, we have not yet started that process in a way. And as somebody who's observed the industries, and like you just heard Professor Joshi say, that the idea is to penalize. So wherever it could hurt them, that has been kept out of the game. Why do you think that, this sort of a penalty that Trump has come about, given the recent history of things, starting from Operation Sindoor, let's try and get it into the conversation, that he feels India had to be penalized for this, and that too through tariffs?
That's the only thing he can do, no? I mean, to penalize, that's the biggest weapon he has, because USA is the biggest market for all exporters. So the weapon he has is the tariffs. So he is using it to his advantage. Whatever they need, they are not penalizing. Whatever they do not need too much, they are penalizing. And for some reason, the tilt is not towards us. So he is, we are a very minuscule part of his whole map of imports. So out of so many countries, we are hardly 13-14% of the US imports. So I mean, there is no reason for him to penetrate so deeply and all. He just picked up the good things and just shut the other things.
So you're
and
saying he is in a position to do that?
Yes, he's in a position to do that, and it doesn't make any difference to him. It makes a difference to us. So we have to now insulate ourselves against it, and we have to think of greener pastures. We have to think of alternate exports. We have to think of somewhere else that we should be able to go and grow the market. Also, we shouldn't keep the doors for negotiation closed. I feel on one hand, our people are already trying to negotiate, or the teams are coming together, and they'll meet at different various forums and things like that, and they will try and negotiate. Also, he's going to be meeting Russia, so maybe the sanctions will be removed. We don't know what is going to happen, so we are not going to keep, I feel we should not keep those doors closed, and alternatively try different markets. You know, that should be our strategy.
Because there
is
is
pain in sight. Yeah, there is pain in sight, Ms. Ali, because there is I don't see that going away, but we should try and minimize it. We should try and diversify our exports. We should try and get over it, and government should give some helping hand to the MSMEs, is what I feel.
Yeah, they should not be abandoned and left to fend for themselves.
Yeah, the other day I read in the papers that the banks are going to be cautious on lending to the textile units because of the exports falling. I mean, I was really touched, because I said, this is not the way banks should behave. At this time, they need encouragement, they need hand holding, and they need to be told that don't worry, you have other markets, we are with you. I feel government should do something with it.
Did you feel the same? I mean, what sort of hand holding do you envisage?
See, hand holding, it's too early for hand holding, to be honest with you. I mean, it's Trump's rhetoric right now. Unlike China, who are well hedged, you know, they use their hedge very well with, you know, stopping rare earths, and suddenly America turned back and extended everything. India is not in a position to negotiate from the top at this point of time. We will have to succumb to some pressure, but we have to be very clear that we are not going to succumb completely.
But tell me, when we go back a little, what is your take on the fact that this is made out to be about how Trump wanted the credit for intervening during the recent hostility, and India refused to give that credit, and then he's decided to peg it on India's imports from importing from Russia, but actually the real reason is somewhere Mr. Trump has been rubbed off the wrong way with the sort of statements that, oh, you know, this was no US intervention, this was
So
our call to
I don't
follow.
know whether it's a PR issue with the Indian government PR team or the Pakistani government PR team out there, but the point here was that even 2 weeks ago, Trump kept saying we are 2 days away, you know, a couple of days away from a historic, you know, a big, beautiful agreement with India. What suddenly changed course, we don't know. He's well aware since the war has started. I mean, from the very first year of the war between Ukraine and Russia, India's oil imports from Russia have gone up. It is a tacit understanding at that point of time between the European countries as well as America, why India should, you know, India and China need to buy the Russian oil and keep it. And
US encouraged it at a point.
100% they
At
encouraged
a time,
it.
in order to stabilize the
price,
energy
yeah.
prices.
And that is, and what did India benefit? India benefited in converting, I mean, you know, petroleum products and shipping them to Europe. It saved a lot of things. I mean, you know, it kept the oil prices under control. But today, if you sit down and tell India at that point of time, okay, you cannot import, we have seen oil going up to close to maybe $130 a barrel or something. So, you know, it's a matter of convenience. The goalposts are changing for President Trump every single day. I don't know who his
Because
whisperers
the
are.
duplicity of it all, right? I mean, look who's talking in a way. There are imports from Russia that US does. There are imports from Russia that China does. So this does not add up. That unless you withdraw your imports from Russia, we are going
Absolutely.
to, you know, so that does not add up.
No.
What do you think, Professor Joshi? What is it then? Because this argument
So,
obviously does not sizzle.
I believe that we have to clearly segregate between what is being said and what's happening. What is being said, and in international diplomacy, only difference probably right now is that whatever is being said is a little rough, a little unheard of. A president of a country, like for example his interaction with Zelensky, for that matter, or if you take out these theatricals, which is part of President Trump's personality and politics, there has been a long-standing agenda on part of United States that India should clearly affiliate herself with United States. There is nothing new about it. There is nothing Trump about it. Even General Eisenhower, when he was a president of US, and we just were, we obtained our independence, it was his agenda.
Yeah,
he
which is
pressurized.
why I think Nancy Pelosi said that don't jeopardize relations with India. It's going to cost you. Don't burn that
even
bridge.
in those days, incidentally, trade was used as a weapon. For example, I don't know how many of us remember, but when those days we used to import the rice, and the US ensured that we will get lesser amount of rice because Pandit ji and his successors were refusing to go into US camp. So there is nothing new about this. This is very much a continuation. What is different this time is it seems like President Trump has made it his agenda to pull India away from anybody else and to bring India into the US camp, lock, stock and barrel. And that is where, because his insistence that he negotiated truce, it is impossible.
Can that sort of strategic alliance be done through coercion as Trump is hoping? Because the Indian government could be walking a tightrope here, you feel?
It is walking very, very high tightrope for the simple reason that, see, this Indian government has been favoring alliance with US.
Yeah.
But not to the point where it will be entirely seen in US camp. And it has been cornerstone of our policy to say that Kashmir or Indo-Pak relations is a bilateral thing. So the moment we accept anything President Trump says, we are kind of giving up on 75 years of our legacy, which is impossible, which was strengthened by Simla Accord, strengthened by Lahore Declaration and everything. So that is something which India can't simply afford. Now, as to should he coerce us into this alliance, that has always been his style, whether in his internal politics or whether in his partisanship, that is his way of functioning. So that is what he is practicing upon us.
Yeah. In the overall picture, the sectors of Indian economy, you already said that MSMEs and the agriculture sector, there are a couple of worries in those areas, and of course the government must be very, very conscious of it and not behave as if let things be, and there has to be some amount of succor offered. Do you believe that these sectors at this point of time are likely to feel an impact which we have not fully seen yet? Is there a hidden cost here?
See, government is fully aware of the farmers' plights. They have been on the brink for a long time, and government will not risk losing the farmer votes. So, government is very, very supportive of the farmer and agriculture. Agriculture, government is fully on the dot. They do not want to disturb them. They want their agriculture to be going on. They do not want their hormonized imports or everything. So for that it's okay. For the other sectors like the jewellery and the gems and jewellery and the footwear and the other small MSME sectors, which auto parts and they are ancillary to the big industries which actually export. So I don't know, they will have to be helped by the big industry or then by the government. One of the two, because many people are making parts for machinery which is exported to the USFA. So I mean those people, they need either compassion from the bigger houses or from the government or from the banks to tide over, till they have the other markets.
You said that there can be negotiations. What would be India's negotiating, bargaining chip, if you like?
I think basically he mellowed down to India because he wanted to keep China at bay, or that is what I thought at that time. Now he's cushioning up to India because he wanted to keep
Counterbalance to
counterbalance China. That should still hold,
That should
no?
still hold, yeah.
I mean, I don't know why suddenly he's not counterbalancing. So us going and meeting Jinping, or us going to China, will ruffle his feathers, and he might come down to the table to negotiate. I thought we were going to meet the president of China, and that's how he was
Because
going
that's
to.
going to happen, right? Probably
Yeah,
on the offing.
that's the thing that I think we are playing at. You know, so we want them to negotiate on a little bit on our terms. That's the only thing we have actually. Our main geographical position, you know, near China.
What would you say to that? The China part of this whole game,
China,
how it falls into this?
China has leverage. We do not have leverage. We saw it classic with the rare earth. I mean, let's put that. That's the fact of the matter. China has a lot of leverage.
And also the fact that the China is now an active ally of Pakistan.
Yeah, but that doesn't
may matters,
bother. Pakistan is nothing in its whole scheme of things. Pakistan is just to, you know, I mean, put a thorn on India's side. That's all. It has nothing to do with trade. They have literally no one will go and invest in that country. The situation it is in right now. I do not know whether he is getting more and more upset with BRICS, because if you see, he's gone after everyone from BRICS and the founding members, starting with South Africa. I mean, he's Brazil, of course, right now, and
India and Brazil have the highest tariffs.
And Brazil, I mean, Brazil has I mean, you know, US has a trade surplus. And he's still going around and saying Bolsonaro next. I mean, you know, he's saying you have to release Bolsonaro. That is ridiculous. What does that have to do with your trade? I mean, the Brazilians are, I mean, they have a deficit with you compared to other countries. So there's no, I mean, there's no sense in this madness that's what's happening around.
But what is the immediate plan of action for exporters? Are they waiting and watching, or are they?
I think they all are waiting and watching. Today, you know, even MSMEs and all, they cannot move infrastructure around. They cannot, and neither can the American retailers. If you look at the German jewelry, you know, they suddenly can't go to another country and say, okay, the 7%, like for example, textiles, 7% of textiles, I'm going to give it to Bangladesh and I'm going to share it between Bangladesh and Vietnam and Indonesia. That cannot happen, because those countries are not geared up for that. Similarly, I mean, you know, when you look at German jewelries also, I mean, we got trained manpower here. It cannot move to another country overnight. It will be a 1 or 2 year exercise to, you know, get it out of our country. So I think right now everyone's waiting and watching. No one is, I mean, scrambling around. But they are concerned. They are very concerned. Very concerned.
Because, you know, Trump being Trump, Professor Joshi, we've seen how the man operates. Is there a worry? Because see, of course, we've already seen speculations around how the Indian rupee will suffer, how there will be job losses. We are already talking about MSMEs. So somewhere the trickle down effect, sometimes it's also the perception. It's also, you know, the whole, like we say, investor mindset, right? Do you see an impact there?
Yeah, definitely. Especially as you said correctly, the investor mindset part is very important, because if, as Madam was saying, or even he mentioned that for example, if banks are now hesitating to lend, that's going to affect the MSME sector big way.
So that sentiment matters.
It's not just sentiment, because see, on part of bank says we don't know whether we are going to recover the money or not. So for them it's a business. Similarly, if I am an investor, I am going to hesitate in, say, expansion or capacity extension and so on and so forth. So that is very much there. In agricultural space, for example, if your exports reduce, then naturally that floods your domestic market, because the production, there is not a huge amount of fluctuation in production in case of agriculture.
So if it floods the domestic market, is there something to gain out of that? Will prices reduce for the consumer?
Yeah, so it is slight possibility that the prices for consumers may come down. However, if you look at the kind of suffering that the agricultural sector will go through, I believe that benefit will be wiped off, because that won't be so high. See, these products which are exported, they are not your day-to-day necessities per se, fruits and stuff like that. So, the reduction in their prices is not going to be a great advantage to the customer, but it's going to be a great problem for the suppliers or farmers themselves. So, that's going to be a challenge. And more importantly, if we are sitting for negotiation, we may have to accept some of the demands from US government. And one of their major demand is opening our dairy sector or opening others. Now again, that is also a very interesting thing. For example, in case of GM, the Indian farmers movements are insisting that they want GM. And it's the government which does not want it. Sharad Joshi or his movement constantly insisted that we want GM, GM seeds. So now, exactly what we negotiate and what we don't negotiate is going to be extremely threadbare thing.
Yeah, you can't just ignore it. You can't wish it away, can you, Sunita ji?
But it's a long process. The UK FTA itself took about 2 years to do it. So I don't know how they're going to arrive upon an full agreement in such a short while. But I don't.
Also, we have to realize that we've arrived at an understanding with UK, and it must have been a hard negotiation. Now we can't go and do the opposite with US because next this thing FTA with the EU will get impacted. We have to maintain some consistency across all our FTAs.
Hostilities, I think, will not help, as I think the entire panel agrees. That we do not have that.
There must be consistencies with the policies India is going to have with the FTAs across.
So one has to tread cautiously.
Absolutely.
Let me take closing comments, Sunita ji. At this juncture for India, what is the best recourse? Like, you think negotiate further, impose reciprocal tariffs, as some are suggesting, or behave like, look, we are a large domestic market. We don't have to bother so much about this. Just let it pass. This too shall pass.
No, we have to keep on negotiating. Our negotiations have to go on. We cannot be hostile, we cannot impose tariff because they are imposing tariffs on us. Although everyone says reciprocal tariffs and all, I don't think we can do that because they'll get even more hostile. When we did this Davidson thing and we had to bring it down to some 2%, 3% or something like that for them to
and Jack
export.
Daniels, not
So I don't think we can go that way, nor can we become hostile in any way. We have to just wait it out, keep on negotiating and hope for the best.
Yeah, and things are changing at a very rapid pace. So for all you know, I mean, I hope that doesn't happen though. By the time we put this conversation out,
something else.
Do you think something else will
I
happen?
think it's so fluid. I mean, at the end of the day today, you don't know. He gets up in the morning and he'll decide on something else.
When he gets out on the wrong side of the bed, we are in trouble.
But we don't know which is the right side or which is the wrong side.
Anymore. Yes.
No, I would again go back to what I was saying, that we should not be carried away by the noise. In my opinion, what you are saying that by tomorrow this will become irrelevant, I don't think it's going to happen.
Okay.
Maybe there will be some noises of friendship, maybe there will be other noises of animosity. The underlying issue is very much alive. There is a lot of Trump's vote bank which is affiliated with our agricultural exports. Okay. The whole belt between East Coast and West Coast. And the important. Blue collar, what we call as a redneck American who is voting for President Trump is going to be affected by all these commodities. So it's not very easy for him to just, of course 50% and all those things might be exaggerated. Maybe certain fields like gem and jewelry or textiles may slowly come out of it in terms of negotiations, because that is where the Americans only have two choices. If they are not buying it from us, they will have to buy it from Vietnam or Thailand or Malaysia. So they are not going to produce that for sure. It's impossible for the American economy to produce textiles and gem and jewelry either. So that I think that it may be reversed, but yes, agriculture will remain a matter of concern, and we do have to identify and work really hard on a long-term strategy there.
May I add something here? So the true test will come this Thanksgiving and Christmas. The sales or retailer sales out there in America will change everything. We've seen a lot of orders from India getting cancelled. Already there are stockouts happening in USA because the retailers were forced not to increase the prices. So we will see the Americans staring at empty shelves. And a country of plenty not having many options of products, it's going to change the mindset of the typical American by this year end.
In fact, there are a lot of American studies which are saying that the GDP of US and unemployment in US is going to be affected by these policies. There might actually be rise in unemployment and fall in GDP. That is projected by a lot of think tanks and economists out there in US as well.
So would you say then that this is not well thought out? It's not thought through. Much of it is rhetoric, is what it sounds at one level.
So that's what I would reiterate, that you have to identify clearly between the stuff, the real content, and the rhetoric.
The wheat and the chaff has to be
Correct.
separated.
It has to be sifted through, because as I said, the agricultural lobby, the redneck lobby, the blue collar lobby, that's very much of a fact of US politics, and the midterms are round the corner, so he has to think of all that. That is very much there. On our side, the suffering of our farmers is also very much there. Our suffering of our MSMEs is also very much there. So all these things are real. They are beyond rhetoric and noise.
Do you believe, just one quick last question to all of you, that for all we know everything might go back to status quo?
It's too intense, you can't reach an agreement in such a short time. So he always has this habit of delaying it for 3 months again. So that can happen.
Do you think status quo or something new might come out of all of this?
See, I mean, basically he's dragged it on for too long. It's already 9 months he's dragged this on. Okay. I think he will arrive at a status quo. I mean,
also for reasons that Professor Joshi is pointing out.
It's going to.
And what has prompted this anyway, right? It wasn't an economic compulsion or anything of that nature. It's something very superficial.
It's his personal agenda, and based on what I don't know. And based on what we don't know.
So I think it won't go back to where it was.
It won't?
It may not remain. For that matter, even Biden followed his policies in some matters. As far as trade policies, he withdrew in 2019, he withdrew our GSP status, and Biden did not reinstate it. So it is not that this will go back to where it was, but probably it will not be as harsh as it is today. It will be somewhere in between.
But political compulsions will also come in, and there is always that interesting, intersection between business and politics. And no politician can claim to be above it all, right? I mean, after all,
he has to give something to his people.
Thank you so much for joining us here on Free Press House.
Our pleasure.
Really pleasure talking to you.
Pleasure. Be here. Thank you for letting us be here.